Dun, 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 dun. That's my music. I think I got it. I think we're live.
Okay.
I think I've figured it out. I've only done it 87 times in the past 4 years. Probably not 87. What's 24 a year? I don't know, maybe close to 87, 24. This is going on the 4th year, twice a month. So that will happen. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us. Welcome to another edition of Parents Helping Parents Live. It's Monday, June the 20th. We're glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm sure Blake's glad you're here too. We're all glad you're here. I'm sure even people that are on the Parents Helping board are glad that you're here. So, hey, a couple of things. If you're not familiar with Parents Helping Parents, just let me give you a brief rundown of who we are and what we do. We are an Oklahoma-based nonprofit organization founded by parents, primarily run by parents, with the goal of providing education, resources, and shared experiences to parents who have children any age who might be struggling with a substance use disorder. In a nutshell, we were founded by a group of parents who had a struggling young person, didn't have anywhere to find information, didn't have anywhere to find resources, and thought there should be an organization for this. Took the bull by the horns, created the organization, and here we are. So we want to do a couple of things. We want to share our personal experiences. We want our parents to share our personal experiences with you about what they've been through, about some of the answers and some of the solutions they've been able to find along the way. We want to connect you with valuable resources for treatment and counseling and sober living, health, and all of these things in your area. And we want to help provide some education in terms of like what is addiction, what is recovery, all these kind of things that we talk about on a week-to-week basis. Now, we do that in a lot of different ways. All across Oklahoma, we host local chapters, Oklahoma City, Norman, McAllister, Edmond, Tulsa, right? These chapters actually get together, some still on Zoom due to the pandemic, some live in the room together, and they host speakers, they host support groups, and all of these things. And then we host our live streams, which is just a way for us to kind of reach a broader audience and try to get the information and the message out to people maybe in rural Oklahoma and in other states and places where we don't have chapters. So that's how you tuned into this tonight. A couple of things that I want you to consider doing real quick. If you're watching live on Facebook, reach over, click the share button, share the video content to your newsfeed. That exponentially increases the amount of people that can hear a message of hope tonight. So let's say you've got 500 Facebook friends. I've been around a little bit. I would guarantee out of those 500 people, there is a pretty good percentage of them who either are struggling with a substance use disorder or have a friend or a family member struggling with a substance use disorder. So you sharing the video just balloons the message of hope. And I mean, quite literally can change somebody's life. We hear stories all the time of people that heard a message kind of through a random way, saw a video, saw something on TikTok, ran into somebody that took them to a meeting or something like this. And it actually can make a big difference. So reach up, click the share button. Dustin Huckabee already shared it. Boom, just like that, my man, just got your comment. So reach up, click the share button a couple of different times throughout the night if you want. Make sure you comment. Danielle, also, thanks for sharing. Appreciate that. Man, this is so much fun. We got all kinds of interaction already going today. That reminds me, this is an interactive thing. I know you guys can't see one another. You can only see me. And when Blake's talking, you can only see Blake, or you might see both of our ugly mugs on the screen at the same time. But this is an interactive kind of experience. So we are, if you're watching live at least, we're monitoring the Facebook feed. I can see the live stuff that's coming up. Dustin Huckabee's already commenting. All kinds of craziness on here. We've got a live text line that you can text questions in. That phone number is actually in the video title on Facebook. The reason we do it 2 different ways is we want people to interact and we want people to comment on Facebook. That's great. But some of us maybe are concerned about our anonymity and we're concerned about our privacy. Maybe you're a parent who this is the first time you ever watched anything like this and you're not quite sure you want to comment on a video that's talking about addiction and loved ones, and that's okay. We've got a live text line. Nobody knows who texts. your number's not saved, your name's not saved. The questions aren't even saved. That goes to a Google number that I started just for this thing. And at the end of the night, I delete all that stuff and we start over fresh. So comment on Facebook, that'd be great. If not, send it to the live text line. That also will be good. Man, Huckabee is just blowing this thing up, man. I love it. Thanks, Dustin, for your loving support. Well, we appreciate you. So that's kind of how you can comment. The ways that you can stay connected to Parents Helping Parents so that you can find out about all the wonderful kick-ass stuff that we're doing all through the year. Probably shouldn't say kick-ass on the live stream on Facebook, but I've said it twice. So there you go. You can follow us on Facebook at Parents Helping Parents Inc. Some of you are watching us on Facebook, but this goes to YouTube, so maybe people are catching it there. Parents Helping Parents Inc. is our Facebook page. You can also check us out online. www.parentshelpingparents.info is the website. All kinds of good stuff going on there. So, man, I think that's all I've got for now. So we're joined tonight by our guest, Blake Beckner, who does a couple of different things. He owns and operates a sober living here locally in Oklahoma City called Better Together Recovery. He's also a business development rep for Alia Health Group. He'll talk about both of those things, I'm sure. He's going to share a little bit about his story. We're going to talk about sober living. We're going to talk about sacrifice. We're going to answer all of your questions with the wealth of knowledge that Blake is bringing to the table. Man, with that, Blake, the floor is yours for a little bit, brother. Thanks for being here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Derek. My name is Blake Beckner. Thank you for, hey, I really love the live text line. That is just so cool that you have that. Just kind of nobody can tell what they're doing. Super cool. Love that. First off, I just wanted to start off with my childhood, kind of just touch base a little bit. I did have an excellent childhood, two very loving parents, what I like to call excellent anyways. I feel like I never really wanted for anything as a kid, pretty much, we didn't have everything, but I feel like I didn't want for anything. My parents were great, love them to death. And they were always there to love on me and support me. At the age of 14, I started to take that love for granted and started smoking pot to fit in a little bit. And ended up, my parents did at 14 years old, they did end up getting a divorce. And my mom went to California and I went with her. And I started to get into a bunch of trouble out there. Just fell into the wrong crowd once again, trying to fit in. And I did not. I was trying to fit in with the absolute wrong crowd. At the age of about 15, 16 years old, I started using methamphetamines. And with my meth addiction came robbing people and stealing, like very, very bad. So at the age of 17, I got caught stealing a car. Either juvenile hall for 9 months was my options, or to move out of state. So I moved back to Oklahoma. My dad came out to California, picked me up, moved me back to Oklahoma. And I tried to start over here. But we all know no matter where you go, there you are. And I just fell back into the same routine that I was in. Before I knew it, I became an IV meth user for several years, continued getting in a bunch of trouble. At the age of 20 years old, I went to a program, boot camp prison program called RID. It's pretty much prison, but it's more of a boot camp deal. It's a program that they have. Lasted about 6 months back then. I turned 21 there and got out and did pretty good, but got out and kicked my meth addiction. And so what I thought it was okay to continue drinking. I never really had a problem with alcohol. And so that's what I did. And it lasted for about 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 years, I just smoke a little pot and drink some beer And eventually I ran into, I had a few beers in me and ran into somebody that had some drugs. And of course, you know, I just tell myself that I can get high just once. I truly believed that I could do it just once. And that night I was breaking into houses and robbing people, and that lasted for several years. And this is what my addiction led to is that. And in 2007, I was breaking into a house and got shot by a 357. Yeah, the bullet broke my femur bone and shattered my hip. I have 3 pins in my hip, and the bullet is still in my butt as we speak. I would have lost too much blood for them to take that out. And I went to county jail for a couple months, went through the court process, got out after a couple months, and went through the court process and didn't end up going to prison. So once again, after I could start walking around again, everything was good. I hadn't used meth in 3 or 4 months, and I'm still not an alcoholic at this time. So, and that's what I truly believed. I truly believed that I didn't have a problem with alcohol still after everything that had happened up to this point. And so I was drinking again and smoking my pot, and everything was great. So I thought, you know, and at this time I got married and had a daughter and everything. So I have a family, and I'm doing these things, smoking pot and drinking. And about 8 months goes by after I get shot. And once again, I had a few beers in me, and I ran into somebody that had some dope, and I was off and running again, breaking into houses and doing my thing, doing what I do. That rush for me from getting high wasn't enough. I needed another rush, and that was my rush, was robbing people, unfortunately. And that went by for a couple of years, and finally in 2009, I got caught breaking into a house, and went to this time the people were home. So I did get caught. I went to county jail for a couple months and got bonded out. And when I was in county jail, someone told me about Alcoholics Anonymous. So at this point, I just knew something was wrong with me, and I needed help. I couldn't continue living this way. At this point in time, I'm 31 years old, and I could not continue to live this way. So I listened to this guy in county jail, told me to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I did. I got out after a couple months and went to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm fighting my case now for the next 2 years. This case that I just caught, a burglary 1 case. And I got out Saturday morning at 9:15. There's a clubhouse over off of Britain and Penn at the time. I walk into this clubhouse, and, you know, in these 12-step meetings, they ask you, you know, is this your first meeting? And I raised my hand as high as I could get it. This was my first meeting. And, you know, when you're in a meeting like that, they kind of make the newcomer the most important person, and the meeting becomes kind of about you. And these people just pour into you about, you know, their first meeting and what they've done and keep coming back and all that good stuff. And after the meeting, I had 5 guys from Joe Pello outreach houses come up to me and hand me Joe Pello's card and told me this is where I need to be. And I took that card. I called Joe Pello. This was on a Saturday, and I was living in one of his houses by Monday morning. And living at Joe's, I told Joe, you know, I can do time in prison all day long. That's easy. Teach me how to live in this world sober. And that's exactly what Joe did. And him doing that, I developed this passion for sober living. Just teaches men how to live life on life's terms. And when you're going through something, rather than being, whether if I were to go stay at my mom's house, or even if I was on my own, I'm not in an environment where I have, 8 to 12 brothers pouring into me. When something that goes on in my life, I learned how to deal with these things through Joe Pello's help, through the brothers' help. We deal with it together rather than being on my own trying to figure this deal out called life, as a 31-year-old addict, alcoholic. So that's where I started developing this passion for sober living. And as I'm fighting my case for 2 years and 8 days at Joe Pello's house, I lived there the whole time. I lived at Joe Pello's house that whole time. And I really dug into these 12-step program, and developed a passion for the program. And that is where I developed a relationship with God. And so the 12-step program definitely brought me closer to God, for sure. And I just never really knew there was a relationship that I could have with God, until the 12-step program enlightened me on that. But so I'm fighting my case. I go to court 2 years and 8 days later to get sentenced. They sentenced me to 15 years in prison. It's a violent crime, 85%. So that means I'm doing just about 13 years. This is in 2011. They denied my 1-year review. So I signed, and I was off to prison for 15 years, just short of 13 probably. That same night, my mom runs into David Prater at Chili's. They bump shoulders on the way to the bathroom. David Prater is the main DA in Oklahoma County. And she just spills out her guts. My son just signed for 15 years violent, yada, yada, yada. And he finally says, call my office Monday morning. We'll try to get you that 1-year review. And she did. And they got that 1-year review as long as I didn't have any write-ups that first year in prison. So I'm in prison, and after that 1-year review, I get that phone call. They knocked that down, that 15-year sentence, down to a 9 in, 3 out. So this 9 in still means it's still 85%. I still did 7 years, 5 months, and 17 days on that 9 years. And while I'm in there, like I said before I went, I developed this super passion for the sober living. And before I went, I was car hopping at Sonic, to help pay off my debt before I went to prison, so I could get out and make a plan on, buying houses possibly. That was my goal. That was my passion that I believe God gave me, this vision to do that. And so I started preparing for this before I even went to prison. And I got out of prison December 7th of 2018. After 7 years, 5 months, and 17 days, I got out of prison. And 30 days later, I got a job in the oil field, making $15 an hour. And on the captions of, talking about sober living and sacrifices, these are the sacrifices that I made to fuel this passion that I have. You know what I mean? And my goal was to have my first house in 2 years. That was my goal, to buy a house in 2 years. Well, I saved my money. I ate for $52 a week for a year. If I was thirsty, I drank water or coffee. When everybody was wanting to go out to eat, I didn't go. Finally, after about 4 months, I picked a Friday night. I said, I'll go out Friday nights with you, and we'll go out to eat. If they didn't go Friday night, I'd go by myself. I had to stick to that routine. I had to stick to that consistency. And that's what Joe Pello taught me. Routine, consistency. And And that's what I did. If somebody wasn't going out Friday night, I'd go by myself. So by doing these things and sacrificing and living like I did, I told myself I'm just going to live like I'm still in prison for the first year and still be able to eat better and enjoy a nice, beautiful scenery and out here in this world. And that's what I did. I was able to save, making $15 an hour. I was able to save $12,000 in 10 months. And after 10 and a half months, after about 9 months, I started looking at houses. And I got approved for a house, believe it or not, 9 months out of prison. And 10 and a half months out of prison, I bought my first brand new home. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, little 1,300 square foot cookie cutter home. And that same month that I bought that home, I got a $40,000 raise at work. They moved me from a yard hand in the oil field to a mechanic. Never turned a wrench in my life. Okay. Still not good at it. So, and I told him that. I said, I'll yes, sir, no, sir, show up late, show up early, stay late. I'll do all that. And they knew that for the last 10 months. And they said, we'll train you. We'll train you. So they tried and they gave me that raise. And I did that for about 2 years. And throughout that 2 years, they just kept giving me more raises and more raises and more raises. Before I know it, I'm making really good money in the oil field, working every other week. I'm traveling at this time. I'm making sacrifices, being away from friends and family. I've gotten remarried since I've been out of prison. About a year and a half out of prison, I got remarried. And like I said, I bought that first house 10 and a half months out of prison. And with that job, my wife and I bought another house 9 months later. And then a year after that, we bought another house and we housed 26 men at Better Together Recovery. And my wife is a huge part of Better Together Recovery. She has quit her job. The men are required to once they move in, they're required to contact her within 48 hours, and they go over their goals. They go over whether they have a driver's license or not, and she writes down their goals and she writes down steps to obtain those goals. What is it? What do we have to do to reach those goals? So it's just, you're not going to get that when you get out of prison or you get out of rehab and you go back to mom's house, usually, because we're not going to listen to mom or dad. That's why I'm such a strong, and the other guys in the house are all talking to my wife about their goals and everything. So-and-so over here wants to do it also. He sees the success in someone else's life and he wants to get on board with what's going on. So it's just my wife coming on board as of March 1st of this year has been a huge asset to Better Together Recovery. I'm very grateful for her. And so here we sit in March, that same March 1st, I also quit my job in the oil field, the job that, God allowed me to get that got me to where I am today. But I quit to be a sales manager for a roofing company. And this was a huge leap of faith because he wants to pay me commission and a salary. Okay, the salary is about half of what I was making in the oil field. And the commission, we all know what you can do with commission if you do a good job in sales. So, but I've never sold anything. So I'm still taking this huge leap of faith on this salary cut from the oil field to the roofing business as a sales manager. The same day I quit the oil field, the same day, 4 hours later, I get a phone call from a company called Alia, and they're reaching out to me over the last 2 years of running the sober houses and helping people. I've been getting people into rehab. So they kind of reached out to me, let me know, what's available. And they, there's an opportunity for me to go work for them. And I went down there March 4th and to Chicago. They flew me to Chicago and went and met with the CEO of the company and got to tour one of the facilities. And it's just absolutely beautiful facility. And they hired me. Once again, I do not have the qualifications for this job. I mean, I do have the experience. I do have the experience for a job like this as a business development rep. But I promise you the qualifications aren't there. So this is absolutely 100% God working in my life. If so, this is nothing I had done. This is, I mean, God's just, all I've done is done the next right thing, you know, and God's just completely shown off in my life. So here we sit, 4 or 5 months later. We have, like I said, we house 26 men. The company I work for is Alia. We've got 15 different rehabs in 7 different states. We offer detox, sober living, and PHP residential and IOP. So, and I'd love to give more information about that as well. And I just kind of just put a lot together, Derek, in a short period of time. And I'm not sure if I mean, I left a bunch out, but I'm trying to, you know, combine a lot into a little.
No, that's great, man. I wrote down lots of things that I want to follow up on and want you to talk more about. So I will toss it out because I know we've had lots of people just kind of commenting and saying different things. If you've got specific questions for Blake, make sure you toss those out in the comment section. Make sure you send those to me in the text line so that we can get those answered as me and Blake are kind of talking. And just so that people know, whether you're watching live right now on Facebook or whether you're watching later on YouTube, Blake's Facebook link, Alia's Facebook link, Better Together Recovery's Facebook link are all in the comment thread of this video. So if you're watching, you want to get in touch with Blake, click on that, send him a Facebook message. You want more information about Better Together Recovery, it's all there for you guys to click on. And if you're watching on YouTube, just go to our Facebook page at Parents Helping Parents Inc. On Facebook, go to videos, find the one with Blake's face on it, and click on the comments, and you can get all that information there. So, man, I wrote down, I could probably talk to you about your story for a week. I don't know very many people who have taken a 357 anywhere on their body. That's crazy, man. Did that hurt? That seems like a stupid question.
It did. It did hurt. I think is what hurt when it broke my femur bone.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, dude,
I
that's
think
crazy.
that's what actually hurt. It sobered me up.
Goodness gracious, that's crazy. So between that and between signing for 13 and really only doing just over half of that by the time you got out, I mean, man, just probably the plethora of stories you've got and people you've met, interactions you've had is just probably really deep. But you said some specific things that I want to ask you about. One of those is you said that you moved and then, you know, there you were, same problems, different location. I want to ask you a specific question about that because, you know, in the program, they talk about geographic solutions not working, because all you're going to do is move to a new place and get wrapped up in the same old stuff, right? What makes sober living different than just a geographical solution and going and staying with a family member in a city where you don't have any using friends? What would make a sober living change different from just a geographical solution change?
Well, in my opinion, it's the accountability. I mean, you have to go to meetings every day. You've got a curfew. You're not out past 10 o'clock at most of them. Like you have to go to meetings. I mean, you have to get a job. You have to start paying rent, and that's what these things. That's what this is for, is to teach us to, you know, rent's due on the first. You know, I let guys pay 130 that first month, 130 a week that first month. But the idea is to get them on board to start paying on the first. Nobody out there is going to let you pay $130 a week. So we want to prepare you. Rent's due on the 1st, you know. So as far as going to stay with a family member rather than sober living, even if you change states and all that, I mean, in my opinion, it's the accountability that you have in sober living, depending on the right one, the right house, you know, and sometimes those are hard to find, but there's several good ones here in Oklahoma. Just the accountability, the curfew. Your brother-in-law or your sister is going to let you stay out, and they're not going to tell you to be home at 10 o'clock. And nothing good happens after 10 o'clock, and that you're held accountable to that. And getting a job, sister might let you just lay around for a month. You're not going to lay around sober living for a month on the couch watching TV, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, that's not going to happen. So, and you don't have to go to meetings, you know, and these 12-step meetings are powerful. You know, everybody has a different way of getting sober, but this is one way that has helped millions of people. So, and you know, it's not the only way. I'm not saying that it's the only way at all, but it is one very valid way that works.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I think we all know that there's lots of different ways that you can find change. One of the things that sets a few of these paths apart, I think, and tell me what you think about this, Blake. You know, whether it's AA, there are other AA adjacent type programs, right? Celebrate Recovery and these different types of support groups. But it seems to me that support group work, sober living work, that there's really no substitute for the type of community that you get when you get plugged into those places. You said over and over again, I had people pouring in to me. I went to my first meeting and people poured into me and they gave me cards and they told me what to do and made suggestions. And then I got to sober living and people poured into me. And it seems like outside of sober living and outside of that type of support group work, it's really hard to find a community of healthy people that are going to.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. It is. And we need that. We need people to love on us, to learn to love ourselves. You know, that's what my problem was. I didn't value or love myself, you know, when I see these other people loving on me until I learned to love myself. I mean, what a powerful deal.
Yeah. Do we have time for you to expand on that, maybe even just for a minute or two? Like, how did that shift for you happen from, man, I didn't know how to love myself, to I do now? What were some of the things that changed along the way that helped with that?
Well, I mean, on my way to prison, like I said, I didn't have much of a relationship with God. And through these programs and through this fellowship, I really saw God's love, and I started searching for that relationship with God, and that I didn't know existed. I just thought church and God was something people did and talked about. I didn't know that relationship was there to be had like that. And it's just the being in sober living and seeing other men's lives change, you know, and people getting their kids back, that they in wives that wanted nothing to do with their husbands coming back, you know, and it's just and living a happy life. And some of these husbands did some bad stuff, you know, and that love, I mean, I just don't know where else it would come from. It's, you know, that powerful love from God is where the only place I can describe is where it comes from. So that seeing that, just seeing that and learning how much God loved me and what he did for me allowed me to start loving myself and really believing in myself. You know what? Even though I have to go to prison, why can't I do the things my heart desires when I get out? This too shall pass. Why not Blake? You know, I mean, Derek, I have an 8th grade education. I went to 5 different high schools my 9th grade year in 3 different states. I got my GED in prison. But why not Blake? There's no so therefore I've always felt held back, you know. but that's just not the case. I'm only held back by this right here.
Mm,
By the way I think. My thinking is that's my worst enemy. That's our worst
mm.
enemy, the way we think. I've always been told the most powerful thing a person can change is the way they think.
Yeah, yeah. I'd actually wrote this down, but you kind of segued right into it. So let me ask, a lot of the people that I talk to, if I'm encouraging them to go to AA, to try 12-step support, to try this or try that, there's a big hesitation with a lot of people who have a problem with a God concept or have a problem with God. From somebody that's been there, done that, that's been not in the program, hit the program. What do you tell people when they tell you like, I don't want to go to AA because I don't do that God?
Well, it's tough. I didn't think I needed AA. First of all, the first thing you say is in a meeting is, my name is Blake. I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict. And I just didn't like saying that about myself or confessing that over myself. Um, but I mean, that is a tough question, Derek. That is a tough question. You just go.
Yeah.
You got to start doing something different. You've done the same things over and over again, and we're getting the same results. If you don't do anything different, nothing different's going to happen in your life. So that's what it was for me, is just trying something different and surrendering and listen to other people and let them make my decisions.
Mm,
I didn't make my own decisions. Everything I did, every suggestion I had went through Joe Pello
yeah.
and my brothers around me. And now, even still today with Joe, I make all my major decisions go through him. I get advice from 4 or 5 different people, and then I pray and make a sound decision. And then I still discuss that with Joe and my wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
One of the things that as I was listening to your story, as I'm hearing you talk, one of the big like markers or kind of defining themes in your story is just that idea that nothing's going to change unless I make changes, and that you were, come hell or high water, like committed to making sacrifices to make those changes. And I talked to so many people who are stuck and resistant to change, and they have excuse after excuse of why they don't want to work here, why they don't want to work there. And I think one of the defining features that I just hear over and over again in what you're saying is like, hey, um, pull the trigger on making some change and go make it, and that will help you.
that's just it. And I tell the guys all the time. I had a guy the other day that quit his job before he found another one, a guy that's living at the sober house. And I said, we don't do, that's not how we do things. We're not 16 years old anymore. We're grown adults, we have responsibilities, but he doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
He's in his early 30s, and I think he said this is his first or second job. He doesn't know any better. And that's why I told him, I said, every decision you make needs to come through me. And I have a director, Bradley Sparks. He's a director. He's very involved in what we're doing. He lived at one of the houses for a year, and either consult with him or myself or my wife. We're all 3 there for him, and his brothers.
Mhm.
We don't just quit a job because we don't like it. That's not how this world works right now. You know what I mean? You've got
Yeah.
responsibilities.
Yeah. Hey, well, I always have one question to kind of wrap things up, but one other thing that you were talking about in your story that I wanted you to maybe say a word or two about is, at different points in your story, you thought that it was okay for you to just have some beer or to just smoke a little bit of weed. And we tend to, in a cultural climate where alcohol and marijuana, especially in Oklahoma, are pretty acceptable behaviors. For somebody that's an alcoholic or somebody that's an addict, like, why is that approach so dangerous? Like, oh, I can have a couple of beers or I can have a little bit of weed, I'm not going to do coke again. Like, how did that happen for you in that part of the story?
How did how did my finally using
Yeah, like
after?
how did a couple of beers pretty quickly turn back into just a whole round, another round of chaos?
Well, for a lot of people, when they drink, they want to get high. At the end of the night, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning. They've had too many beers and they want to wake up a little bit. But for me, that's not real. That wasn't really the case. For me, it was just having a few beers in me. And when you have a few beers in you, you're out and about and you're putting yourself in situations where those drugs are going to be, whether we like it or not. I mean, when you drink, you're gonna, whether it's at a Super Bowl party, whether it's at, you're gonna end up going to the bar, you're gonna run into people that's either got some kind of pill or some dope. And when you
Yeah.
have a few beers in you, you just, oh, I can get high just once. I can take just one pill. And we honestly believe that. Our minds tell us that it's going to be different this time. I got this, Blake. It'll be different, So, and we all know that. What I'm saying is, that it's going to be different this time is just so not the case. It just gets so much worse, so much faster.
Yeah. It's rarely different that time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Hey, as we're kind of wrapping up, man, hey, I want to thank the people that have been watching live, because this has been one of the most like interactive live streams we've had in a while, just in terms of people commenting, people throwing out love for you and better together, and just being a part. So thanks everybody that's been listening. But as we kind of wrap up, Blake, I like to ask everybody that comes on the live stream, if you could give just like a 60-second message to somebody out there that maybe is struggling tonight. Like what would that 60-second message be from you?
If somebody's out there struggling, I would just encourage you to reach out even to a family member, to myself. Hopefully my phone number's on this thread, or if not, I can definitely add it. I will take your personal phone call at any time. And if not, I will always call you right back. Just reach out to somebody that you love, and if that person's not available, reach out to myself. That's the main thing, is just ask for help. That's something I could never do. I could never ask for help and go to rehab. To this day, I've still never been to rehab. Instead, I went to almost 8 years in prison because I couldn't ask for help. I didn't need help. I had this. I was okay. Things were going to change tomorrow. Things were going to get better tomorrow. And it's not the case. Derek, that's not the case. Reach out for help today, and we'll be there for you. We'll meet you right where you're at, whether it's detox, rehab, sober living. We'll meet you where you're at.
Yeah, it's good. I'll put your number in the chat, Blake. What is it?
405 795 1410.
All right, there it is for everybody that might need it in the future. Hey, Blake, man, thank you. One, for being here tonight, for taking time out of your Monday and showing up and doing this for us. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the recovery community, for everything you're doing for Oklahoma City, man. We appreciate it. For the people that joined us tonight, thank you so much. We are here live on Facebook the first and third Monday of every month. I say that to say that the first Monday of July is the 4th of July. And the last thing I want to do is take away from anybody's celebration of America. And so rather than doing a live stream on the 4th of July, we are going to pre-record episode, whatever you want to call it, with our good friend Charles Gossett, who's been on before. And that will be uploaded on the 4th of July evening, but it will not be live. So just tune back in at some point early in July to catch my visit with Charles, and then we'll be back live again later. So thanks everybody that was here. We appreciate everything. Blake, thank you, brother. I'm sure I will catch up with you soon. All right.
Sounds great. Thanks, Derek.